All right. Moving on in the ABC film review series, we're on the letter C. And I have chosen Charlie Bartlett. And I think this is one of the few that I didn't switch out for something else. Once I found this, I picked it in here. Charlie Bartlett is a 2007 comedy drama starring Anton Yelchin, Kat Dennings, and Robert Downey Jr. Let me just say a couple of things here. One, whenever I see Anton Yelchin in something, it makes me kind of sad because he died so young. He's only 27 years old, younger than I am right now. I think he was born in '89, so he's 3 years younger than me, or was 2 years younger than me. So, yeah, someone's that close to your age and they die. He was 27. I was 30. 29 when he passed. Yeah, it's sad. But he was a good actor. This movie, Alpha Dog's another great movie, which maybe one day I'll get to. The subject matter is kind of dark. That and American History X are two movies I'm iffy on reviewing because they're good movies, but the subject matter leaves more so American History X than Alpha Dog. But yeah, and the Star Trek movies was good in that too. Victor too. He's very good, and it's sad that he passed away so young. And two, this was 2007. This was 1 year before the MCU kicked off with Iron Man. This is 1 year before Robert Downey Jr. became Tony Stark. And you can see in his performance, you can see the Starkisms. The way he talks, the way he moves his arms. His clothes, like they're towards the end of the film, he's wearing the like the long sleeve shirt, the sleeves rolled up a little bit. You can see Tony Stark coming up before your eyes. It's very interesting. I didn't think about this until watching this movie. But Kat Dennings is in this movie. She was also in the MCU. But the ironic thing is that Robert Downey Jr. and Kat Dennings have never shared a single scene within the MCU. And they were father and daughter in this movie. And they never shared a single scene. Not one scene did they share in the MCU. I don't think they will because Robert Downey Jr. is probably done. She might come back for something, but who knows what. I don't know. Interesting. There's also interesting cast notes. There's Hope Davis, who I've seen in a couple other things, but Tyler Hilton, who I know from One Tree Hill. Yes, I used to watch that show. And there's even a Degrassi connection because we have four actors. I don't remember the one actor's name, but he played Linus in a couple episodes of season 5. But you have Jake Epstein, who played Craig in Degrassi, of course. Lauren Collins, who played Paige, and Aubrey Graham, or you better know him better as Drake. Yes, Drake, the rapper Drake. He played Jimmy Brooks in Degrassi, and this was filmed in Canada, so yeah, but yeah. So the story here: Anton Yelchin plays Charlie Bartlett, who was a 17-year-old who was never allowed to be a kid. He's been treated like a grown-up by his mother his entire life, and so he's been kicked out of schools, and so he finally goes to public school, and this is his first introduction to public school, and he's not liked. He rides the short bus for some reason. I don't know why, but he does. And then he meets Murphy. That's Tyler. I just said it earlier. Of course, it's not on here. Tyler Hilton's character. Yeah. He has mohawk in this. It's kind of weird to see him then. But yeah, plays Murphy. But his first friend is actually a mentally handicapped person who he does use to kind of muscle Murphy, and then Murphy becomes his muscle later. But like, so he comes up with this idea to sort of be like a psychiatrist because he gets diagnosed with ADD, which most likely he does not have in this movie. And the reason I say that, not discriminating, I myself have ADD, I have ADHD. I used to take the Ritalin. I used to take Ritalin, which was prescribed for him here. But the reason I say that he doesn't have that is if you don't have ADHD and ADD and you take Ritalin, it's going to have the opposite effect on you. Ritalin is supposed to calm you down. Now, I had to take it 3 times a day. Charlie is prescribed 1 a day, and he gets him high off his ass. I had to take it 3 times a day, and none of that ever happened to me. That's why I firmly believe he actually doesn't have it. But because he mentions to his psychiatrist he has trouble paying attention or trouble concentrating, he just like, okay, you have ADD. He's like, do you think I have ADD? Well, we'll know until you take the pills. No. You never have a patient test out pills to see if you got it. If you're not entirely sure they have something, no. There's no way. No, you did not do that. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen. So Charlie becomes his own kind of psychiatrist, talking to people, finding out what problems are, and he goes to his psychiatrist and says he has these problems, and he gives the meds for it, and he gives it to these people, right? So that's the basic story. He's doing this. But the problem is that not everyone is going to, necessarily follow the prescription, but for the most part they do, and I feel like it goes off the rails kind of fast. This one kid is prescribed, his name's Kip, he's prescribed like medicine, like antidepressants or sedatives or something is prescribed to him, and he decides to down them all, commit suicide. And it doesn't work, he survives, but then Charlie is, confronted and by the principal, who by the way is, like I said, the character of Susan is Charlie's love interest, and that's Kat Dennings' character. And I always find it weird, because I've read she doesn't smoke or have anything to do with anyone who does. Yet, she's smoking in this, and you could tell they're not real cigarettes, just the way they look, they're kind of fat rolled, look like props. But, it's just weird to see someone smoking who's so against it. I don't know. But it's Kat Dennings. She's cool. But, yeah. Yes, and Robert Downey Jr. is the principal. He's principal, I forget his, Gardner. Principal Gardner. But yeah, so Charlie is kind of told, hey, can't do that anymore. So he convinces Murphy to dump all the drugs out, doesn't want to. But he's going to continue his sessions for free, and there's no drugs involved. So he still wants to help people. That's the important thing, is that he was, he makes it about popularity, but I think he really wants to help people, to find out. By the end of this, he does want to be a psychiatrist, so, to help people. I wish I could sit and talk to someone without falling asleep. I don't think I could sit there. Maybe it's because of my ADHD, and I don't take the medication anymore because I've got a handle on it more than I did when I was in high school. But I just don't think I'd be able to sit and listen to people talk about their problems. I don't know if I'm that kind of person, but I can see if you are, like Charlie Bartlett here. But yeah, there's other things that go on in school, like they put cameras in the student lounge, which shouldn't they have a lunchroom? But they do have a lunchroom. There's also a student lounge. I don't know. But I was with it to a certain part of the movie, and then I wasn't, and then I was afterwards. So, uh, so there's a certain part of this film, Gardner is aware that Charlie had been putting out drugs, but he's done with that. But, you can't always convince someone that you're done with it. So he goes to visit Susan, and he sees him hand her a bag that says RX on it. And he freaks out. He goes like, "What's in the bag? What's in the bag?" And Charlie is fully, he is fully willing to tell him what's in the bag. But Susan's the one that says, "No, you don't tell me what I do. You don't control me what I do." And and it's like, you know what, Susan, if you had just shown him, I think that this whole what's about to happen, because it gets to a point where he gets grabby. He grabs Charlie. Charlie, on pure reflex, punches him. He goes, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that." And he's like, "Well, you did it. It's done." And then she gets pissed and throws the bag at him. And he rips it open to reveal it's nicotine gum to quit smoking. And then I'm very confused why he does this. So we see him meeting with the superintendent several times. He goes to the superintendent and tells him that he got hit. It's his fault. It's Gardner's fault that he got hit. If he had just been calm about it, and Susan's at fault too. But he presses charges on Charlie. And I'm like, whoa, wait, no. This is your fault. You are focusing all of the fault of this on him. He's going to jail because you couldn't calmly talk to your daughter and have a conversation about what's going on in her life. No, you had to be erratic and irrational. And you got hit for it. You got put in your place for it. And now you're putting him in jail because you can't handle that fact. That's a bunch of bullshit. And he even gets fired after it. So, what was the point? They start to destroy this lounge because they're doing a protest, and Charlie tells them to go away until the night, which Charlie tries to tell him, "You don't need me anymore. You don't need to listen to me anymore." And yeah. But then, and maybe it's always this way, because I was like, I remember having a more satisfying ending in this. And they do. They organize this play, because after the guy that tried to commit suicide, Charlie convinces him to show his play to the principal, who was at first against it, but Charlie talks him into it, and they eventually do it, and his daughter's in the play, and he says he doesn't want to come and see me. So Charlie goes to get him, and he's drunk. Like the principal, he's drunk. Or the former principal. Gardner is drunk, and he's waving a revolver around, and Robert Downey Jr. playing a drunk? No. Is that stereotyping? We do with Tony Stark too, so who knows. But this is where you really see the whole drunk Tony Stark persona with the gun and waving it around and being erratic. Yeah, I could see that. Maybe they saw that and was like, hey, we want him to play Iron Man. He's perfect. Who knows? But Charlie thinks he's going to shoot himself, so he tries to tackle him, but he moves out of the way and he falls into the pool. So the drunk guy has to get him out of the pool. He's like, why'd you do that? You were going to kill yourself. Can't kill myself. I got too much responsibility. And, yeah, so he's talking to him, and he's like, we got to go to the play. She doesn't want to see me. I'm like, how do you know that? Talk to him. Talks him into it. And he's like, well, what about you? What about your dad? I try to find something that will tell me it's worth suspending you or getting you kicked out or kicking you out or whatever. And I found him. His dad's in jail for tax evasion. Earlier in the film, they show him going to visit him, but he doesn't want to go in. And to be honest, it wouldn't be because I'm mad at my father, who I've never met. Well, I did, but I was a little bambino. But it would be because of the whole jail setting itself. I don't want to be near jail, you know. So that's why I wouldn't go in. It wouldn't be because I wouldn't want to see him. I would, but just, I don't know. You know, so he eventually convinces him to go to the play. And they go there and they see her sing. And through this, we get a montage of showing us that he does go to see his dad, and Gardner is going to be history teacher again, like he used to. And he seems to like it more. And like I said, he's wearing that long sleeve shirt that's rolled up like Iron Man, and he's doing the thing. So it's like, okay, it's pre-Iron Man here. It's pre-Tony Stark. So, yeah, I could see that where they kind of, if this was where they decided, hey, you know, this was a 20th Century Fox movie, but I'm just saying. And, yeah, there's the thing with the mom, she's like, I've been treating you like a adult for so long, I gotta realize you're a kid. And even when he's talking, he was like waving the gun, he's like, I'm just a kid. Wait, hold on. What'd you say? I'm like, I'm just a kid? Fucking story of the century or something like that. He says, it's like, yeah. And there's very few, like, swear word cussing in this that, there's very little cussing in this that I forget it's rated R, but it is rated R, the drug content and everything. But yeah, this is a really good movie. I often forget that it's a good movie. I have had this in my collection since it came out on DVD. But for some reason, my grandma was in the habit of getting the movies when they came out and like giving them to me. And this was one of them, and I was like, okay, sure. I didn't know what it was, but I watched it and I liked it, and I haven't watched it since, and I watched it now, and I think I should watch it more because this is a good movie. So obviously, I'm gonna say Charlie Bartlett is pretty good. So here we go. The letter C. Next, we will travel to the letter D, into the world of the muscles with Brussels himself, Jean-Claude Van Damme, and this time he's on a train. Until then, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.